Simon Berry here, MD of Appoint Group, and I'm here as part of our 5-tip series to talk to you about managing those interview nerves. Interview nerves are a massive challenge for a number of people. At very least, they can have an impact on how good you are in that interview itself and the success that you might get off the back of it. And at most, they may even be the reason why you choose not to strive for your ideal role or that career progression that you're looking for. If it's something that you're worried about, it may even put you off the process of applying for a role altogether. That's not good for your career. So let's have a look at what we can do to get those nerves out of the way and get you marching forward. So the first tip, and undoubtedly the most important, but probably the most obvious, is you've got to be well prepared. If I think about the times in my life where I've been the most nervous, it tallies beautifully with being the least prepared. The example that springs to my mind is old university presentations. If I felt like I was blagging it, winging it a little bit, then I'd be terrified. If I felt confident going into that presentation, knowing what I was going to say, knowing the sort of questions that would be thrown at me, that would give me huge confidence, and those nerves really wouldn't play a part. So preparation is key, and I really can't emphasize that importance enough. In terms of preparation, what do we mean? We mean looking at the company, familiarising yourself with what they're about, what they do, so that when they ask you about that, you know what you're going to say. If you can learn anything about your interviewers, that would be great, and that's something your recruiter might well be able to help you with as well. Chances are they'll have dealt with those individuals, and at the very least that company, quite a lot before. And of course, the other thing is about preparing with the information to do with yourself as well. Read that CV again and again and again. Make sure you're totally familiar with it. Think about the content in there, how you'll deliver some of that during the interview. And of course, there's loads of information online about the sort of interview questions that might come up. And again, your recruiter will be able to advise you on typical questions that you might expect given the nature of interview that you're going to do. Tip 2 is be reassured. What do I mean by that? What I mean is be reassured that the interviewer is not out to scare you or make you feel uncomfortable. Quite the opposite, in fact. A good interviewer will know that if you're sat there a bag of nerves, they're only going to see the nervous you and not the real you. And their job as an interviewer is to get to know the real you, to see what you would be like in that job and how good you would be and how suitable you are for that role, not how good you are at dealing with nerves or being put under pressure in interview. So remember that they should be going out of their way to make you feel comfortable as well. Don't allow yourself to think or imagine that they're out there to really scare you, and hopefully that will give you a little bit more confidence going into that interview room. Hopefully those first 2 tips will already help you and give you that little bit more confidence, but of course nerves will still play a part. Whenever they strike you, whether that be in the car park, as you walk into reception, or as your name's called and you first enter that room, when those butterflies start to rise, my next tip would be try not to focus on them. Try and think about something else. Those nerves are more often than not very temporary and will subside as soon as the interview starts to take shape. So focus on first impressions, focus on the specifics of the questions you're being answered, maybe prepare a little icebreaker or find a way of taking your mind off those butterflies, because as soon as you settle into the rhythm of the interview, they'll be a thing of the past. My 4th tip would be to remember that nerves can be a real positive for you. 2 reasons I believe that. The first is that it will help you focus your mind, and it will act as a motivator for you to want to do a really good job with the preparation, making sure that you take the time to do a really, really good job of that, but also in the interview itself. It will concentrate you and it will focus your mind. Hopefully not on the nerves themselves, but on the questions, the interviewer, and taking the process seriously. Secondly, I think they're probably the best illustrator you have of the fact that this is something you care about and you really, really want. That is actually something that's very important to most people interviewing for most jobs. It's not just about the skill suitability or how technically apt they are for the role. I certainly would never hire someone, even if they were the best person on paper, if I didn't genuinely believe that they wanted to work here, and I would want to understand why. Nerves can do that job for you. If I can see someone that's nervous, that tells me that they want this, and that's got to be good news. Final tip would be take your time. Nerves can be the cause of diving into an answer without having thought about it in the first place. So my advice would be listen to the question, and think before you speak. Think about what you've been asked, why you've been asked that question, maybe even what sort of answer they're hoping for before then delivering your answer. Sounds like a lot to do, but realistically it's a lot of processing that you can do in a second or two, and that's something that you're more than entitled to do in an interview. No one is going to expect you to speak immediately. I've been in interviews where people, evidently quite nervous, have dived in, they've started speaking, they then slow up, and eventually they have to stop and say, I'm really sorry, what was the question again? And that's nerves that's causing that. So don't fall into that trap. Take your time, listen to them. If you don't understand the question, ask for them to repeat it for you. But take your time, think about your answer before you deliver it, and that really will make a big difference in your interview for you. So that's my top 5 tips for dealing with interview nerves. Hopefully something in there has proven useful or has resonated with you somehow. If so, please give it a like. If there's anything more we can do for you, then please don't hesitate to get in contact using the contact details just up here. And of course, there'll be plenty more coming on these videos in our top 5 tips series, so follow our channel for more. Thanks very much.